Welcome to my podcast, which is all about changing your business and money reality. This is your master money coach, Dr. Gaurav Deka, and you are money. Hello, my friends. How have you been? So I'm welcoming you to this new episode. It's called Thoughts I Want to Think About the World. So I have been a great fan of Byron Katie. And it's all started with her book, Who Would You Be Without Your Story? That's the name of the book. She's one of the most amazing thought leaders, experts on how human minds think, how human minds perceive the world. And that book, Who Would You Be Without Your Story, changed everything about how I looked at the world, how I perceived what others believed about me, how I imagined the stories of other people all around me. And Byron Katie is one of the most radical, uncomplicated, and conspicuous thought leaders I have ever come across in this world. And she has this amazing thought technique that she calls as the work, T-H-E, the W-O-R-K. And the work essentially has 4 questions in it via which she resolves everyone's problems. And these 4 questions are, is it true? That's question 1. Question 2 is, are you 100% sure it's true? Question 3, how do you feel when you believe in that story? And question 4, who would you be without that story? And she uses the work with each and every client of hers. People who come with stories about the world, their objections, their traumas, sometimes women going through violence with their husbands, people who experience domination and control with their bosses, mothers who are distraught by the child who is maybe addicted to alcohol, women feeling left out and abandoned when a lover doesn't love them back the way they want. Every single person in the grip of that trauma, that anxiety and desperation, has a story to tell about the people who have caused them that pain. They have stories of their own victimhood and how it's unfair for other people to treat them like that. Every person has a story of their own and their own set of thoughts and beliefs about those people and their behavior whom they don't approve of. Now, to every single story, Byron Katie has the most crystalline approach. She's almost surgical the way she does the work. By asking those 4 questions, she's able to turn around every single case. She's able to make every single person look into their own psyche and acknowledge that they have a story, and not every story is a truth. And when we believe in a story, we tell ourselves that doesn't serve us, we actually disempower ourselves. When we obsess over a story that we have in our head about a certain person, about the world, about a certain topic, and we drive ourselves insane by the constant repetition of it. It just keeps on cycling inside our brains, making itself truer and truer with every single cycle. And at the middle of all of that comes those 4 questions by Byron Katie, which she calls as the work. Question 1, is it true? Are you sure it's 100% true? How do you feel when you believe in that story? Who would you be without that story? And you know, my personal favorite questions are the last two, actually. How do I feel when I believe in that story? The story that I have about my head, in my head. And who would I be without that story that I'm reliving by thinking, causing myself so much of pain? And because it's true that my belief in the story is what gives the story power, isn't it? It's my belief in the story is exactly what gives the story that power. When I believe that people don't like me, when I believe that I am not valuable, that no one is interested to work with me, people think of me as too much, people think I am too expensive as a coach, people think I'm a con artist. These are just stories, isn't it? And even you may have stories in the form of these thoughts that keep on going around in your head, in your brain. And they're just stories I want to believe about myself and about the world. Until I use the 4 questions, they continue to be facts in my head. They continue to be true. But the moment I go into self-inquiry mode, they begin to collapse, they begin to dissolve and fade away. And once that happens, I'm no longer the person who believed in those stories. So who would I be without that story? Story like, my husband doesn't love me. I cannot live without alcohol. Stories like, if something happens to my business, everything is going to fall apart. I'm a single mother. I cannot have a full-time business. I'm a tarot reader. I'm an energy healer. I cannot make 10 lakh rupees a month. These are in truth just stories. And while many of us may not want to accept that, because accepting would mean taking responsibility of our feelings, taking action towards changing that story, that narrative. And we feel that in order to change that narrative, we need help. We need someone else's collaboration. We need support, the world's support. And even that is not true. Because I can move towards change, transform the whole narrative, just by changing my thoughts about myself and about how I feel the world feels about me, thinks about me, and about how I feel about the world. I'm going to repeat that. I can move towards change and transform the narrative just by changing my thoughts about myself, about how I feel the world feels about me, and about how I feel about the world. In ATIPS, I constantly coach people on their thoughts. I tell them that you are the deliberate creator of your reality. And that's not my original quote, though. This is from another writer and thought leader I so admire, Abraham Hicks. And as Abraham says, that the deliberate thought is the only truth. The world, as it shows up, as it appears, is a result of how I want to think about the world. And it's not the other way around. So when we do the opposite, which is make the world the reason and source of our misery, we give away our power, we give away our agency, we give away our ability to create our experiences, we actually lose all the control to create the life and the world as we want to create. So when I look at my own thoughts, when I witness my own thoughts, the first instinct that I have and that I tell all my students to develop over a period of time is to question those aberrant and unhelpful thoughts about the world. Put them to rest and use our own original thinking to think about the world the way we want to think in order to create whatever we want to create, in order to make that reality happen that we want to make happen. And inside ATEPS, I call it the DTB process, which is the deliberate thought building process. So while it looks like a very simple process, very simple technique, the effects of this process and techniques are profound. Recently, I did a masterclass called The Greatest Abundance Secret. And I taught the deliberate thought building process in this class. And then we kept a Facebook group, an active one, where people could come and do the deliberate thought building process. And I would help them sort of segregate their thoughts, bring them on the table, question them, go into self-inquiry mode, and develop thoughts that they would like to create in order to get where they want to get. Again, this technique is not mine. All the different gurus and teachers and trainers of law of attraction teach you how to create deliberate thought. In fact, it is by reading Abraham Hicks that I came to know that I could actually think the thoughts that I wanted to think. I could feel the feelings that I wanted to feel. So if I wanted to feel worthy, I could just question the thoughts that would make me feel unworthy and use the 4 questions to see how I feel when I believe in that story. And once that model of thinking is dismantled, I would begin to develop thoughts and feelings that would allow me to feel worthy. The same went with power. The same went with abundance. The same went with feeling grateful. The same went with feeling nourished, feeling loved. I realized that I had all of these stories in my head about myself, about people, about the world. And the more I inquired them, instead of indulging with them, the more they dissolved, the more they faded away. And then I had more and more space inside my body, inside my brain, inside my mind and my nervous system, wherein I could choose certain thoughts that I wanted to believe about myself and about the world. These were the thoughts that helped me move towards the result that I was looking to create. And that is exactly what we learned in my last masterclass. I teach this in great detail over live coaching calls inside ATEPS. And all the coaches and all the healers and all the therapists and all the service providers who come, they learn to create the clients they want to work with. They learn to create the money they want to make, the business they want to have, the offers that they want to make. They learn to create that using the deliberate thought building process. Because here we build thoughts that allow us to believe about the world the way we want to believe. And that is especially true for so many of us as coaches and healers, because we come with so much of shame and guilt and judgments when it comes to selling and putting our services out, even marketing and generating interest in people to buy. And Byron Katie's 4 questions help us to dismantle all of those faulty thought patterns. And the deliberate thought building process helps us to bring in, create thoughts that go beyond the guilt and shame, that go beyond the fear, that go beyond the desperation and the anxiety. I want to give you some of the examples of the deliberate thoughts. Thought 1: there are thousands of people listening to me right now and celebrating my work. Thought 2: whenever I show up, there are people out there who wait to hear what I have got to say. Thought 3: I am valuable and worthy just because I exist. There are people who believe in it and resonate with it. Thought 4: my soulmate client exists. They are already looking out for me, even when I may know nothing about their existence. Thought 5: people pay me because every time I show up, they witness my authenticity and start vibrating with the truth of who I am. Thought 6: the world is an abundant place. There is enough for everyone, including me. So tell me, how does it feel when you listen to these? When you allow these sentences to find space in your body and melt? I truly like to know from you. Until then, keep practicing self-inquiry. Keep believing in the thoughts that you want to believe for you to achieve your dreams, your success, your money. Love you all. See you next week. If you enjoyed listening to this podcast and are willing to change your business and money reality, head to my free coaching community on Facebook called You Are Money. Link is in the show notes. And do not forget to leave a review on Spotify.com or Apple Podcast. Thank you so much.